All right, so the source for what we're breaking down today, it isn't some academic paper or a stuffy article. Nope, it's a raw, totally unfiltered monologue from a martial artist and internet personality named Serey. It's really just a stream of consciousness talk that kind of weaves together weightlifting, mental health, and, yeah, hot dogs for his dog. But trust me, underneath all that, there's this surprisingly solid philosophy of strength, and that's what we're going to unpack.
Everything, and I mean everything, starts right here, with this incredibly direct, almost brutally physical statement. If your wrist is weak, it will snap. Now, on the surface, sure, that's just some advice for the gym. But for him, this simple, mechanical fact is the central metaphor for how you should approach your entire life. This one idea, it's the key to everything else.
So to really get this philosophy, we have to start where he starts, with the literal, physical foundation. We're talking about the simple, often overlooked act of strengthening your grip.
The whole emphasis here is on being functionally strong. According to him, a powerful grip is what lets you lift heavier and, more importantly, safer. He points out something that's so obvious once you hear it. When you hold a weight, it's not your bicep holding it up, it's your fingers, your grip. He mentions that legends like Bruce Lee knew this. They were obsessed with wrist and finger strength. Why? Because it's the base of all other strength.
And this is the result he claims you can get, a tangible number. By focusing on your grip, you can add up to 50 pounds of extra lifting strength. Just think about that for a second. That's not a tiny improvement. That is a massive, measurable leap forward. And it all comes from strengthening this one small part of your body that most people completely ignore.
Okay, so how does all this talk about physical training become something more? Because this isn't really about the gym. The physical training, the wrists, the grip, it's all just a direct, powerful metaphor for how you deal with reality itself.
And this slide just lays out that connection perfectly. A boxer who doesn't train their wrist throws a hard punch and snap. A fighter who doesn't train their neck takes a hit and they're out cold. Well, it works the exact same way with your mind. A person who doesn't train their mental resolve, their mindset, they face a real-life crisis and they just break. The principle is identical. A lack of training leads to a total collapse under pressure.
This brings us to the main opponent in this whole philosophy. And it's not a person, it's not some institution, it's this inevitable force that he calls life's chaos. So what is life's chaos? It's basically all the personal battles, the unexpected curveballs, and the full-blown crises that every single one of us has to face. And he's really clear about this. My chaos is not your chaos. But that doesn't matter. The force is the same, and believe me, it is coming for everyone. The only real question is, have you been training for the impact?
So how do you neglect your mental training? Well, according to him, it happens through silence. When you're used to just being quiet, being shut down, or you just refuse to actually process what's happening to you, that is the mental version of never ever picking up a weight. You're just leaving your mind weak, vulnerable, and totally unprepared. And this is a really crucial warning. When that chaos finally does hit, if your first move is to outsource the solution, to let somebody else tell you how to feel or what you should do, that's just a form of dependency. It's like asking someone else to lift the weights for you. Sure, you might get through that one moment, but you haven't actually gotten any stronger.
This whole idea of self-reliance naturally leads to some deep skepticism about modern authority. The core argument is that we really need to rethink who we're actually listening to, who we consider an expert.
He argues that there's this massive difference between an expert from, say, 50 years ago and an expert today. Back then, expertise was built on hands-on practice, on applied, real-world knowledge. Today, he sees a system that's more about graduate and out, where the focus is all on the piece of paper, the credentials, and not necessarily on deep, practical experience with actual people and their problems. He uses this really sharp question to make his point. I mean, think about it. If a nutritionist is supposedly an expert on healthy eating, but they aren't healthy themselves, what does that tell you? It points to this huge gap between knowing something in theory and actually applying it in practice. So the question is, who do you trust? The person with the degree on the wall or the person who's living the results?
And all of this leads him to a pretty bold prediction. In a world where technology is just exploding, he believes the whole currency of value is shifting. He argues that from 26 on, tangible applied skills, what you can actually do, are going to become way more valuable than the degrees you have hanging on your wall. Okay, so how does this all come together in the real world? In a tangent that sounds kind of random at first, but is actually perfect, the speaker uses the simple act of feeding his dog to illustrate his entire philosophy in action.
Look, this isn't really about hot dogs. It's about the mindset. Step 1, question the experts. In this case, the big commercial dog food company. Step 2, do your own homework and apply your own solution. Step 3, take personal responsibility for the whole process. You observe, you think, and you act based on what you actually see with your own eyes, not just on what a label tells you to do. It's the entire philosophy, right there in a dog bowl.
And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. This is the message that ties the grip strength, the critique of experts, and yes, the dog food all together. At the end of the day, you are your own primary caregiver. It's on you to do the work, it's on you to do the homework, and it is on you to take responsibility for your own physical and mental strength.
So we end right back where we began, with this question that brings it all full circle. It's not just asking if you've been to the gym, it's asking, have you done the work? Physically and mentally, have you prepared yourself for the inevitable pressures of life? Because when that chaos finally hits, the only thing that's going to keep you from snapping is the strength that you've built yourself.